The contents of the 401 Artist Classic are a 40-inch baseboard, parallel mat guide, squaring bar, and a hinging guide rail with a scaled production stop. Also included is a pull-style bevel cutting head with rotating blade holder, start and stop indicator, anti-crawl pin, and nylon guides that allow it to hook to the side of the guide rail. Also included is a 3-depth position mat knife. Plus extra blades. To install a blade into the bevel cutter, first loosen the retaining screw on the back of the cutting head and rotate the blade holder up. Then loosen the blade holding knob. Install one Logan 270 blade sharp side down into the blade holder all the way to the back and retighten the blade knob. Rotate the blade holder down and then retighten the retaining screw. To adjust the blade depth on the bevel cutter, find the screw on the underside of the cutting head. Using a screwdriver, turning the screw clockwise reduces the blade depth, turning it counterclockwise increases the blade depth. Have just enough blade so it barely passes through your mat board and only scores into the slip sheet. To downsize a piece of mat board on the Artist Classic, first remove the production stop and the slip sheet, and the parallel mat guide. Place one pre-sized piece of mat board color side down under the guide rail and against the squaring bar. Set the blade depth on the mat knife out to the standard thickness setting. Using the blade cover to ride on top of the aluminum guide rail, hold roughly at a 45-degree angle and pull straight back to make your cut. To bevel cut an opening on the Artist Classic, first set the parallel mat guide to the border size needed. In this example, 3 inches. Always use a slip sheet when bevel cutting. Place a mat board blank color side down up against the mat guide and down against the squaring bar and set the guide rail down. Using a pencil, mark all 4 borders on the back of the mat board. Hook the bevel cutter onto the rail and line up the start and stop indicator with the pencil line. Depress on the anti-crawl button and rotate the blade into the mat board. Release the anti-crawl button and pull straight back to stop on your lower line. Always make sure you retract the blade after each cut. Continue this process for the remaining 3 sides. After the 4th cut, you will have a perfectly beveled mat. To bevel cut an opening using production stops, first set the parallel mat guide to the border size needed. In this example, 3 inches. Always use a slip sheet when bevel cutting. Place a mat board blank color side down up against the mat guide and down against the squaring bar and set the guide rail down. Now set the scaled production stop to the same border size. In this example, 3 inches. Using a pencil, mark one line along the side of the guide rail and immediately turn the mat board blank 1/4 turn clockwise. Hook the bevel cutter onto the rail so the start and stop indicator is along the top pencil line. Depress the anti-crawl pin and rotate the blade into the mat board. Release the anti-crawl pin and pull straight back to make light contact with the bottom production stop. Always retract the blade after each cut. Continue this process on the remaining 3 sides. After the 4th cut, you will have a perfectly beveled mat. To resquare an Artist Series mat cutter, first remove the mat guide, and then place a slip sheet into the machine. Now using an L-shaped carpenter square, place it down against the squaring bar. Lower the guide rail and slide the L-shaped carpenter square until it fits flush and tight along the side of the guide rail. If any gaps are seen, resquaring is necessary. To adjust the guide rail, go to the far end of the machine and loosen the inside screw. Then loosen both screws on the near end of the machine. The guide rail will now be loose and can be repositioned to be flush along the L-shaped carpenter square. Gently lift the guide rail and retighten the screws. And retighten the screw at the far end. The machine is now square.